I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Here we are on The Gloom. We got Pony Express, I think, is calling in from a golf course. We've got a guest on today that was a previous site leader, actually founder of the Messhall. Remember some of my favorite AO logos came from this man here when we were getting started. And I know this man before F3, so it's good to just talk to him again. But we got our man Wide Right on the call. And man, Wide Right, it is good to see you. Still keeping the stash growing and looking
it's
good.
Getting grayer.
Yeah, you look great. Hey, you know where we kind of like to start is just kind of the backstory, who EH'd brought you out to F3, and then what was the first workout like, if you remember it, and how'd you get your name, Wide Right?
Okay, so the who EH'd me, that's a tough one, because I remember Selleck I had reached out to. I think I even reached out to Bubbles, just kind of figuring out, because I saw it on Twitter, and I know I had spoken with you, and you said that it was a good thing. And then what was the first workout? It was a Tuesday. No, it was a Friday. It was at the Woodshed. Shout out to Pony. It was before Pony's time, though. I remember Tater Tot was there. I want to say Safe Ride was there. Honey Stinger was there. And I threw up everywhere. So it was a good time. I was incredibly out of shape. And we ran more than 20 feet, and that was probably the extent of my ability at that point. I did throw up, and I laid down, and I want to say Big One was there too, because I think him and Adrian were kind of teasing me because I had known those guys for a while. But it was fun. I had Steffensmeyer was there, so room service was there. I had my Vikings sweatshirt on, and I love the Huskers, and I love Liverpool, and then Vikings are way down on the list. But they're still my team, right? But my name was because the Vikings are notorious for missing big kicks. And so Wide Right was born. And then shortly thereafter, Wild Rice was born. And then it kind of evolved into the triple threat of White Rice, and Wild Rice, all encompassing.
Okay. Well, that's actually pretty funny, because I remember the first time I met you, I had no idea what your actual name was, because there was 3 different names being thrown out at one point. I did think it was White Rice or White Rice for a period of time.
It depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's Wild Rice, you know?
Yeah, Uncle Ben's. But talk to me about fitness-wise, because you've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a while. Were you doing that before, or what was your fitness level like before you started?
I think I was doing it before, but not as active as I eventually got into it. I think F3 kind of catapulted me into that, because I worked out with you maniacs, and, you know, you go for your brothers that are going to be there in the morning. So I started really thinking, because it's easy to think of an excuse at 5 o'clock in the morning why you can't go outside and work out. But when you start to think, you know, Pony's going to be there, I told him I'd be there, John Cloud's going to be there, I got to be there. You really make sure that you're there every day. So I got into shape pretty quick, and that kind of catapulted my ability on the mats to, you know, grapple a lot better. So, but I was not in good shape at all.
Have you ever grappled with Pony?
Yeah, we used to do it all the time. That was Warmerama. The last time was at the mess hall, and he got swept, and
he doesn't want the smoke. He doesn't want it. He pulls the geriatric card out every time we start to tussle. So, and I think he gets a little aroused every time we actually engage each other.
No argument there. No argument there. But you tried to pull some butterfly guard, which was really easy to pin one knee down and just pass you. And then I got side control, and then it's over.
Nice. I love the jargon. I'm gonna have to get into that one of these days with the jiu-jitsu crowd. I definitely have some FOMO hearing you guys talk about it. What you know, as you came out, so you knew a lot of the guys, right? I mean, you've been in Omaha, and you know, from a fellowship standpoint, I remember fellowshipping with you just maybe, and we were definitely up at that time in the morning, maybe just the opposite of the sleep cycle. But what was your experience as you came into F3? You feel like you were welcomed, or how was your experience kind of with the second F and fellowship?
The second F is everything to me. That's what I miss every day now, being away from you guys. Is, I mean, I go work out at the Y because that's all we have here, but nobody listens to my COTs there. The fellowship's everything, man. I miss it so much, you know, being able to go to different, and it just blew up. So I was like, gosh, it used to be just a pretty small core group of guys. And then, you know, you'd have those, you know, 6-person workouts. And if you didn't know them at the beginning of the workout, by the end of it, you felt like you'd known them your whole life. And that was the end all be all for me. That's what got me hooked. Meeting guys like, I mean, Honey Stinger was just like an instant connection. And I mean, it's the best, you know. What I explained it to my wife, I said, you know, I'm still close with a bunch of kids that I played sports with, and we went through the grind together. And I was like, this is just the adult version of that. We're going through the getting comfortable being uncomfortable, you know, when it's cold out, or when you're running up a hill, or when you feel like you're going to faint because you suck at running like myself. You just go through those things together, and the bonds are there, and they're strong. So man, that's something I miss incredibly right now.
We definitely miss you too, man. I'm curious, because you mentioned in there something we maybe haven't touched on enough as we've interviewed guys, but the second F during the workout. Talk to us a little bit about that. What's been your experience with that?
Oh, that's the best. So when I write a workout, I always like to throw some grappling or wrestling or something and do a lot of bear crawls. And people don't like that, but you know, you look to your side and you're like, well, everybody else is doing it, so I got to do it. Unless you're Ponzi and you're just like, well, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, you just develop these bonds. And I mean, slow pitch would always pick me up because I was always the 6th. And you know, you just have those guys that see you struggling and try to help you and share their stories on where they are in their F3 journey, because it's different for everybody. Man, you just develop those bonds, and that's what it's all about to me.
Absolutely. And some of that comes from, I think your personality is one where, you know, I have heard you several times just not being afraid to ask a guy, what's your name, you know, or what, you know, who brought you out, or what, you know, and just having the courage to speak up. And that's always been cool. You know, I think the other question I would have for you is, you know, kind of in the realm of the third F, but also, you know, just kind of the transition, you know, I think from just with life stuff that you've maybe dealt with, or having kids, or kids going through stuff. What's been your experience there, kind of connecting the second F and third F piece? Did you feel like F3 kind of helped you in those areas too, or?
Absolutely. I mean, it helps you all the way around. COTs, man, some of those just hit you, right? So, you know, your COTs, I can recall several of them just off the tip of my head. I know Rudman's had a couple good ones. No Dose had a couple good ones. I mean, COTs are everything, right? An opportunity for somebody to put themselves in a vulnerable position and share some personal experiences that they went through and how they overcame. And I mean, it's easy for that to just soak in and then apply it to your own life. So, I mean, COTs are where it's at. I know you have like 4 that you could share right now that you keep on tap, you know?
I do, man. I actually led a workout this morning, and at the end of my COT, you know, I said, you know, and hopefully you took something away from at least one of those 4 COTs. I just have so much I think I need to share. But What's one of your favorite COTs that you've given? Any messages that you kind of live by or stick with you over the years?
So probably my one at the Oracle. I was supposed to queue there, but then Boys Town shut down, so I ended up queuing elsewhere, which is fine. But Boys Town's a lot more special to me than most, just because I was kind of a bad boy, I guess you could say, and I lived there for 2 years, so court ordered, if you will. So I had us do a Dora with 208 reps of everything because I lived on 208 Maher Drive down in Boys Town, and I kind of explained, you know, a lot of different stories and a lot of things that Boys Town does that maybe, you know, the people on the outside might not recognize. But it was good. I know a lot of people. I know it was good because I had so many people just reach out saying, you know, how much they appreciate me sharing that with them, and how important it is for others to see somebody in the middle of 15 guys just putting himself out there and sharing their stories. It's impactful. And I know Cheap Seats reached out and was like, man, you blew me away. And Superfly was like, dude, that was awesome. I had no idea. And, you know, just things like that, it makes you feel good. And anytime you can share your story that, you know, has an impact on others, man, that's what it's all about.
Well, and that's, you know, those COTs are just a piece of leadership, right? I mean, that's some piece that we kind of throw into this group of, hey, you're going to lead this workout. The COT is your chance to, I mean, you may even know it's going to be that impactful, but a lot of times it is. You know, you have no idea where someone's coming at during that day, what's going to be impactful to them. So even being vulnerable and sharing a little piece of yourself is so huge and such a big step in any type of leadership role. I guess while we're kind of talking about leadership, you know, obviously you talked about your Q. What was your VQ like?
So they tried to get me to queue for like a year, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. I mean, I had everybody, I mean, you name it, asked me to queue, like, and I was just like, I'm good, man. I'm good. And then Armbar, who I've known for a very long time and love the dude, was like, I'm putting you on the schedule and you have nothing to say about it. And it was actually August 26th. And that was Griswold came out for the first time, which has forever changed him and F3. It was really good. You know, I mean, I had been to so many workouts that I wasn't nervous or anything, just because I knew, you know, 5 core principles. You know, I mean, you name it, I've been to enough.
Well, and when 3 people show up, you don't really get that nervous.
That might have been your VQ, bro. I'm a legend. There was at least 7 people there. No, it was a 20 bomb. It was a 20 bomb, but it was good. Armbar helped me throughout it and made sure that, you know, if there was anything I needed. But then you kind of do it, and then you're kind of hooked. You know, leading the workout's cool because, you know, you're in control of how you want the workout to do. You don't have to do any running if you don't want to. You get to try new things. It was great. Had a couple FNG show up, like I previously mentioned with Griswold, and a guy I used to work with that doesn't post anymore, but it was awesome.
Oh, and that's good. You know, always being the proctor is always a little bit, you know, better than actually participating. So I hear you there. Well, you know, you have your VQ. You said, yeah, you kind of get addicted or whatever. You really like this leadership role. How did you transition into then a site Q? What made you decide, hey, you know, there's a need here, or I want to volunteer my time, or I feel like I'm the right time, right guy, or was it someone approached you? Kind of walk us through that piece.
Well, I think we had the first person to talk to me about it was Tater Todd, and we were doing a Red Wings Murph, and he can run for a day. And I think we were on like the first round, and I was just the 6 per usual, just gasping for life. And he did most of the talking because I physically couldn't talk, but he had mentioned, you know, some opportunities and how he appreciates what I had done, and then Plague had reached out, and I don't know, it came down to do I think I can make F3 a little bit better? And the answer was yes. And it was a pretty easy yes for me.
For guys that maybe don't know, share with us the story of the Messhall, the name, and just kind of the launch. How was that experience?
So that was the biggest thing, is finding the name. So did my research on Mr. Swanson and what he had done, because you want it to, you know, relate to where you're working out at. And he made the first TV dinner. So I was like, well, that's awesome. I eat a ton of those. And so then it kind of spun off, and I had I think Pony was on the group text. We're trying to find the best name for it. So it came down to either the mess hall or the banquet. And I was really torn, because the banquet, I don't know, I just think it'd be funny to have, you know, banquet, you think like suit, tie, eat a good dinner. But then I
Come
thought,
to find out, that was actually trademarked. So that's the reason why you didn't go with banquet, right?
yeah, that, you know, could have been the reason. But then I thought, you know, we got a bunch of ex-military, you know, you got LPC and Patton, and the mess hall is kind of a little place of solace where everybody just gets to grub, have a good time, and then, you know, move on. So I decided on the mess hall, and Tenderfoot's an absolute monster of creativity. And just, I told him what I was thinking, and I have absolutely zero artistic sense at all. And he made probably the coolest little logo and emblem you could think of. A little Herbie Husker-esque, because I went to Nebraska and we're surrounded by all these Creighton people. So I figured, what can I do to bring out the Go Big Red? And yeah, Tenderfoot's an absolute G. And we really need to make a t-shirt, but that's another discussion.
For Grizz, yeah, Griswold can do that, right? I love that. I love that story. I do. I appreciate you sharing with us too about your experience with Boys Town. You know, I think it's pretty remarkable and that's what we're trying to do, right? With the foundation, is get guys that we can support, and then someday that you build them up as leaders and help them become a site Q, which is phenomenal. What launch day, was that a pretty big deal for you, or what was the day of the launch?
Launch days are huge. So when you're trying to relieve and give a little reprieve to Westside High School, which is, I mean, you got the field, you got the lights, you got the bleachers, you got you got everything there. So it's hard to compete with that. And we had done, you know, a couple workouts before to kind of get some people there, so we kind of familiarize ourselves and with the area. And I was nervous, man. I was like, shoot, what if nobody shows up? I know one workout, it was just me and Griswold, and then it was just me and Folsom. And so I was just nervous. But then I showed up, and I mean, it was a full lot. I think there was 40 of us there. And it was emotional, which is weird. You know, I didn't expect that, but when you have something, because it was important to me, and anytime something's important to you, you want it to go great. And you don't sleep that night, because, you know, you're thinking about, oh, how's my COT going to go over? And is anybody going to show up? Like 1,000 things. So you don't sleep, which also means you don't fart sack, because if you don't sleep, you can't fart sack. So that was good. But I mean, just so many faces, people smiling, pre-runners, I just was put at ease the second I saw those cars there. So it was awesome. My COT, I was thankful that I was, you know, nominated by you guys to do something like this, because, you know, it makes you feel good. And there were so many people that helped me get to where I was in my F3 journey. So really talked about, you know, how important it is to, you know, build your brothers up and help them along the way. And, you know, really let people know that everybody's at different stages in their journey. And if you were at a stage where you see somebody that's especially like a newer guy that's just starting, show them that you were there. Hell, when it comes to running, I'm still there, you know, but it was awesome, man. It was absolutely incredible. And you two were
Well,
both there, so gotta love that.
well, yeah, we'd always obviously be there to support you, and we're super thankful for your leadership, and that's what we're trying to do is highlight former leaders or current leaders and their growth and why they do what they do, and unfortunately, we know you had to relocate and you're no longer here with us, but that kind of gave you an opportunity to go and spot the next guy, and I think that's a big component of being a site Q that I joke that I was the longest site Q and I was doing it as a service because part of your job as a site Q is to help promote leadership, right? And find that next guy and who that's going to be. And, you may not be as long as I had it. Yours was a little bit shorter lived, but you still had to go through that transition of identifying, okay, who's the next guy, who is right for leadership or who is going to do this site justice. I mean, I know you ended up going with Grizz and I'm glad you did, but maybe walk us through what stood out to you with Grizz there and your thought process.
Well, he's my best friend in the world, so it was a pretty easy choice for me. He even before, he's always been one to hold me accountable, whether it was, jujitsu or, F3. He's always just been, well, I'm going to be there, so I expect you to be there. Now, obviously, from a fitness perspective, he's a freak of nature. So, that was easy. And he's a leader in everything he does. And he's a brother to me. So I'll tell you what, relocating, I brought up F3 to my wife 1,000 times. And she was like, you can work out anywhere. I said, honey, it's not about the damn workout. So it was tough for me to leave. Like, that was a huge part of me leaving, how I didn't want to go. But, having your boy be able to take over and know that he's going to do good things and know that he's, a leader, even before he was the site Q, he's been a leader, the book, You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader. He encompasses that completely. So it was a really easy choice. Yeah, it was simple for me.
Love that. I think it does. It makes it a little bit easier, but tell us a little bit about. Tell me about that book. You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader. How do you think F3 portrays some of the stuff in that book? So I think that's there's a lot of stuff that I see similar to F3 as we have guys without titles that are still leading.
Yeah, it's a great book. When I worked for my father-in-law, he's an author and he's written a bunch of books, and he was always big on these, how can I get better books, self-help books. And this one just kind of crushed it because, not all areas of your life are you going to have a leadership position, but that doesn't mean you can't be a leader. So it kind of struck a chord with me because, here it is, F3, and I love it, right? And I'm doing it every day, and, getting in better shape, meeting some awesome people. And I'm not going to let me not being a site Q affect how I go every morning, right? So I encourage everybody to read that book. That's a really good one. But yeah, just because you're not a site Q doesn't mean you're not a leader. And I think you and Tater Tot do a great job of, if you see somebody showing leadership, like, you let them know, right? So I know that, Tater Tot's one of my favorite dudes on the planet. And he's, if he sees something that he likes, he knows that it's important to let that person know it, and so I kind of pass that on. Like, if I saw somebody doing something good or, killing it, it's important to recognize them.
I like that. I think that is really important, and I'll have to ask Tater why he's never told me good job on anything. I don't know.
What a jerk.
I am curious to, kind of back to the third F piece. How has your faith developed the last few years, whether it's maybe spiritually or community service wise? How do you feel like F3 has helped you grow there?
So I have kind of a unique faith. I was raised Catholic, and we lived next door to my grandparents down on 12th Street. And we basically went to church like every day because that was how grandma wanted to roll. So I have a very strong, like, cornerstone, of my faith. And as you get older, you kind of evolve and kind of I have a different religion. Like I was raised Catholic and I believe, in the majority of my Catholic beliefs, but there's certain parts that I have evolved and I have a unique relationship with God and, the higher powers. And I think F3 kind of brings that out. I remember I did a rosary after Golden Spike one time, and I hadn't done the rosary in ages, and it was me and Mother Goose, and I want to say Saul, but I'll tell you what, it smacked me right in the middle of the forehead, and I was like, man. And best believe I went to, that was a Friday, and then Sunday I definitely went to church, and yeah, it kind of helps bring me back to, you need to set that time aside. I mean, my mom used to always say, if you don't pay attention to God, God won't pay attention to you, which might not be true. That was her way of saying, get your butt to church. But I'll tell you what, that was a very meaningful rosary that we did. And it helped kind of reignite my need to pay a little more attention to my faith.
Oh, well, just being around the guys praying in the morning, has some impact of, connecting you to that higher power, which I think is good. And it's tough, right? Because with all of the things in F3, everybody's at their own spot, depending on what's going on in life. So I think, it's also very cool just to see you grow as a, father and husband and support your family, kind of be a part of that journey. You mentioned your M, and I think as you've connected through, with other guys, and I don't know if you've read the Q source or some of those materials, but do you feel like, anything in F3, just like content wise, that you feel like really resonated with you or kind of helped, or was it just being around other men doing those things?
I've read all the F3 literature. I love them all, but for me, I mean, I'm more of a hands-on person. So it's more, the books were great, and I read books. I'm not illiterate. I just, for me, it's all about being with your boys. Like, as super lame as that sounds, it's everything. Like, like I mentioned earlier, just going through the tough stuff, because it's tough to get up early. It's tough to work out when it's cold outside, and that's why I post much less frequently when it's cold out. But I mean, to put yourself in uncomfortable positions and being comfortable with that, I mean, that's what it's all about. Being durable, as Hard Hat would say.
Tell me about your transition, because I actually had a conversation with Lemon Law the other day, kind of a similar scenario. And how are things for you today? I mean, you've moved away, maybe don't have the connection in person. What's life like for you these days? Are you doing okay?
I'm doing okay. I don't, so it's a unique time to move, right? Because it's cold and nasty and nobody does anything, and I don't know anybody. And I told my staff, I said, well, you guys are my only friends, and you guys have to be nice to me because I write your paychecks, but I don't know anybody here. And it's weird to Omaha. I mean, I feel like I know everybody. So it's been a unique transition in that sense. But the brotherhood is wearing on me. And I talk to Tater Tot, checks in from time to time, which I appreciate, because, it is difficult being surrounded by, probably 200 different PAX members a week, and having that support to not having any relationships here outside of my family. So it's been a struggle, but we're getting through it. And yeah, it's definitely different though, that's for sure.
You're the guy that's going to plant the flag there then.
That's what Wait Time said. So before I can do that, I need to meet somebody, because I mean, I can work out there. There's a great park for it too. I think Griswold and Fine Print are going to come down one Saturday. We're going to have a little workout. But I have the first site, and it's a small community, so it might be the first and only site. Yeah. But yeah, I got some ideas. Once I meet people, maybe I can be the Nantan of good old Beatrice, Nebraska.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Are you coming back in town anytime soon, or?
So it seems like whenever I do come in town, it's brief, and I always leave, Saturday. I really need to figure out when the rabbit hole's rocking so I can do one on a Sunday before I head back. But yeah, I haven't been back as much as I had thought I would. And when I have been, like I said, it's, Saturday when I'm heading up there and the workouts are done. Because I don't think my wife would appreciate me getting the kids up at like 4 o'clock in the morning so that I could work out.
Well, just to put this out there, save the day, the 23rd of April for the 4-year anniversary. So if you can make that, put that on the calendar, it would be great to see you for that. It's definitely good to see you virtually, but would love to be next to you in the gloom for sure.
April 23rd, Saturday.
One of the other things we like to ask guys about, just kind of get your opinion on, is kind of advice for like FNGs, or how could we as packs be more welcoming, or what are things that we should be doing when an FNG shows up? Any advice from your experience there you'd want to share?
Yeah, just make sure you introduce yourself. And I'm always big on that, and so do what would slow pitch do?
There you go.
So slow pitch is going to go up and greet them and, find out a little about them, and then he's going to work out with them. I know when I was a newer guy and I didn't know many of the PAX members, I know Safe Ride was super friendly to me and always came up to me and made sure I was coming back the next day. And it's just important to just reach out, because imagine going to a place where it's dark out, it's cold out, you don't know anybody, and you have these guys that are just all so close with each other, and you're just the outsider, right? So it gives you anxiety. Me personally, I don't care. I'm gonna go say what's up to everybody, but a lot of people might feel a little anxious about that. So just go up to them, introduce them, and then we do a great job of it. I'm not saying we don't, but make sure that you're greeting everybody, you're welcoming, and I'm a big sharer, so I always share my story, and and if I can get in shape, you can get in shape. And people are coming to F3 for different reasons, whether it's to work out, to meet some new people, to develop a stronger faith, whatever the case. Find out what that is, and tell them your journey about it. Sharing is huge. Putting yourself in a position of vulnerability, that'll strike a chord with anybody and keep them coming back for sure.
I love that. Yeah, as you were kind of talking there, I was like, man, the only other place that I've been to is like a drug dealer's house, right? That's cold, dark, and lonely, and they all seem like they're friends, so we definitely want to be more welcoming than that environment for sure. I love that. What do you need from guys as guys are listening, or maybe just thinking, wondering about you, prayers or any encouragement we could send your way?
Yeah, it's been a lot more trying and than I thought. The work's going fine, but you have a 3,500 square foot house that you sell, and then there's no place to live, so you live in a 600 square foot duplex with one bathroom. If my wife doesn't murder me, I feel like that's a W right there. The kids have never been closer because they share a room now. So you don't have much privacy, you don't have much you time. So patience is, if you could send some patient vibes my way, that would be fantastic.
I love it, man. Well, hopefully we get to see you soon. If not for the before, maybe for the anniversary would be fantastic. Would love to just get
I'll
together.
be there for that for sure.
Love it. Any other thoughts or things you'd want to share with the packs? Anything, just sending messages over the airwaves here to guys if they're listening in? Anything else you'd want them to know about F3 and leadership or just life?
Yeah, F3 is so good for everybody on so many different realms, right? If you get somebody to go, you should do whatever you can to make sure they see all the benefits that it brings, because to me, I mean, if you go, you should be hooked. Like, there should be no question what you're going to do. You're going to get up, you're going to go to bed a little bit earlier, and you're going to get up a lot bit earlier, and you're going to do something that's good for you physically. You're going to make some great contacts. You're going to have a support system that, and the support system is the biggest thing, right? Like when I have a big decision to make, I always reached out to my friends, right? Because your wife's going to tell you one thing and your family's going to tell you another thing. And then it's good to lean on people, but it's life-changing. And it's important for us to make it life-changing to everybody that comes. We should have the mentality that if somebody posts once, we got to do whatever we can to keep them posted to make them become the best versions of themselves.
Perfect. I love that, man. Yeah, really good advice. And it's simple, right? Reach out to the guy that you brought out, you know. And I think something we may underestimate is just providing him with, these are the things you're going to change, or you need to change to make this work, but it's going to be worth it. You know, because that's definitely something that I know I forgot to mention to guys, but yeah, just the simple change in routine, you know, and it's good for you. It's what you need.
It takes 21 days to form a habit. So if you go to bed instead of staying up till midnight and eating a bag of chips on the couch, watching reruns of some Terrible Friends episodes, just go to bed at like 10 and wake up a little bit earlier.
Love it. Well, we'll take us out in Namarama. I'll try to say pony, or do you want to do the pretend pony?
See, I don't know if I'm good looking enough to act like pony. That's not true.
I'll try it here. Let's see. Pony Express, 15. Or no, wait. John Whitworth, 15. Pony Express. Hey.
Ian Reynolds, 38. Why right?
Brandon Plehardy, 36. The Play. Thanks, man. Hey, this was fantastic. Certainly miss you, man. It's great to see you.
Likewise, man. So good to see you guys.